Good evening, everybody. Merry Christmas and welcome to Nerd Topic. You know, everybody's got a subject or a topic that they like to get nerdy about, really geek out about. And tonight our topic is Wonder Woman, 1984. We're here with Chris, the Informant Marabella. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going? Just got done watching the movie about an hour and a half ago.
Nice.
Watch it with my folks. We make a tradition to see any sort of new release every Christmas, and this was the big release for us.
It really was a Christmas movie, it felt like, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, very hopeful type of film, so it was perfect for the Christmas time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I watched it a couple hours ago. Definitely, warn everybody we're not going to have any spoilers.
Yeah.
Just going to talk about the tone of the film, but I enjoyed it. I mean, without going into any details, blanket statement, did you like it?
I did like it. I think it's not as strong as the first one, but I think it's a solid sequel. Actually, it's more of a solid standalone type of film. I wouldn't really call it like a traditional sequel, but
okay,
it's still a solid adventure with Diana Prince. So,
gotcha. Who did you think stole the show? Whether it be Pedro Pascal, Kristen Wiig, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I think it's Chris Pine because I feel like he dealt with that kind of the reverse scenario of what Diana was going through in the first one of fish out of water.
Right.
I think he handled that well because like he's a soldier from the 1918 coming in 1984.
Right.
And he has just, he knows of some stuff, but he thinks like he doesn't know about a lot of stuff. And I think he handled that really well. Just that naivety of it and everything. And it added like, instead of just having him just be Steve Trevor doing the same stuff again, it added like a whole new layer to the film. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. He was great. I think Pedro Pascal brought a lot that I'm not used to seeing him.
Yeah.
I think mainly because he's pretty stoic in The Mandalorian. So to see him really kind of emote a lot more was a treat.
Yeah, very much like a, just entrepreneur, like very expressive type of character,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought she did well. I mean, she, without going into spoilers too much with her character arc, I thought she was well casted in the role. Goes in unexpected places, but yeah, I thought she handled everything well. So just handled the scenes that she was in with Gal well, the scenes she was in with everyone else well.
Awesome. And I guess last but not least, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. What do you think?
Yeah, I really think, I mean, I liked her in the first one a lot. But I really think her acting chops are really improving with just every movie she takes on. I mean, she's doing other stuff too than just Wonder Woman, and I think she's just really grasping like more of an actress and stuff like that. Because when she was initially cast, obviously she was in Fast and Furious and all that, but she wasn't like the biggest actress, and I would say like maybe not the strongest actress, but she's just really worked at it. She's perfect for this role.
Yeah,
I mean, she just looks like a Wonder Woman, and
she really does. Yeah, she's stunning.
She has the personality of Wonder Woman, and so I think she did even better in this one than she did in the first one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you think that the movies flowed? I know earlier you said that it didn't necessarily feel like a traditional sequel.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel so separate to you that it was like, oh, something's missing, did it? Or
the way I equate it, it's a little bit like the Indiana Jones films, where they're all obviously the same character, different adventures, but you don't necessarily need to watch them in order. They give you enough information, I feel, on this one that you don't necessarily have to see the first one, but I mean, obviously you can just for a little bit more reference, but it's kind of its own adventure of just, and that's what I really like that DC is doing. They're just giving filmmakers an opportunity just to have creative freedom what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not at the moment be bogged down of like building up to a universe.
Right. It is true. Joker, Shazam, Wonder Woman, like they all have just like, I'm not going to say a day in the life of, because they're definitely bigger stories for the character they're dealing with, but do you think that's more accessible to audiences to just say like, you don't have to know the story of the Joker, watch this Joker and just view it independently? Like, do you think that's a better approach?
I think it draws in different audiences that might not be connected to like the MCU or a connected universe, because it might not feel as overwhelming for them. Like, I have to watch 20 films before Joker or something. They can just go right in, or they can go right. I feel like a lot of people would just go right into this one and just enjoy what it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now that it's released, because it was delayed, right? Wasn't its initial?
It was supposed to be like November 2019 at first, and then got pushed a bunch of times. So at first it was just pushed because Patty needed more time.
Okay.
And then the other times it was pushed just with the pandemic, and they were trying to get it in like August, I remember, and it just wasn't going to work. And finally they had no choice but to release it now.
Right.
So
now that it's released and you've watched, well, I don't know what you've watched before on streaming, but me personally, it was my first, because I didn't catch Mulan. I didn't watch like Scooby-Doo and the whatever that adventure was.
Scoob, yeah.
I love the old Scooby cartoons, though, don't get me wrong about that, you know. But so now that you've watched, I guess we could argue, I don't think anybody would argue this is a theatrical release worthy movie. I mean, this would make $1 billion in the movie.
Probably.
We all know that. Did you enjoy the streaming experience of a gigantic budget theatrical release?
I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as being in a theater, but I enjoyed the fact that I could finally see the movie because you know, I was just looking forward to it, and I just felt bad about the situation because, like I said, they had no choice but to release it now. If they pushed it another 6 months, you know, these films can't, these mega films especially, can't just sit on a shelf for that long, because you know they have like payments to make, just people invested into the film, like interest payments and everything like that. So if they pushed another 6 months, that could be like $10 million of interest payments they have to pay.
Oh man, I never thought about the interest of that. Like,
a lot of Hollywood is like loans and stuff, and just kind of like, you know, if you're a college student, just sort of doing any sort of project, you're borrowing money, and
except you're going to a really, really, really expensive college.
Right.
That's crazy. I never thought about the loan element. I want to do some research on that and kind of. I always wonder what the producers do. Like, I know they have to get the money, but like what handshakes and.
Yeah, I've watched like I watch like a few movie channels, and people have broken it down. I still don't know the full logistics of it, but basically I just know like basically Hollywood does what a lot of people does and just borrows money from banks and, you know, other financial partners, and they have to make financial obligations like we do, and when you can't make them, you know, there's consequences.
Yeah, that's funny. I always just think of a studio as this like bank. That just makes a movie and then reaps the benefit. Like I never. Chris the Informant Marabella, man, you're enlightening me.
That's why I'm here.
What did you think about Patty Jenkins? You know, directing. Like, did you see a similarity? And because she did #1. So her coming back for #2, strong move. Do you feel like the consistency was there?
Well, I felt like because it was a standalone thing, I felt like it was a different director, but kind of in a good way.
Right.
Like I felt like a little bit like what the Russos were able to do. Each time the Russo brothers did a Marvel film, it was a different type of Marvel film, and it felt a little bit different from each one. That's a little bit what I felt like Patty, where she was making a film with the same character and the same cast and everything, but it felt totally different tonally, setting, time period, obviously, but it felt like a different director, but I think in the best ways.
Good. Yeah, sometimes you see, like, I'm a little worried about that with some of the streaming stuff when it comes down to 10 episodes and then a different director per episode. Like, I like that because it's like, oh man, Robert Rodriguez directed that one, great. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know, I don't think you could get away with a horror episode, a comedy episode. Like, it hasn't gone that extreme, but you know, or maybe you could. Maybe I need to think outside of the box. But you know,
that's why I'm excited. I've heard shows like Kenobi are going to have the same director for all the episodes they're doing. So
that would be really cool.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool. So how would you describe the tone of Wonder Woman 2? Like,
it's very much, I feel like, in the vein of Richard Donner Superman, of like. Whimsical 1980s type of tone. Not really anything else we see these days anymore. Kind of like, just like, you know, that I guess more light, I don't know if it's lighthearted, but just more optimistic, hopeful tone that a lot of superhero films don't have these days. Just of like the character always smiling, saving people, you know, just that type of vibe to it. The
Zack Snyder dark tone, which has been prevalent since Watchmen. And varied a little bit during his Batman vs Superman, Justice League, like that kind of stuff. I dig it, and I understand why it's a choice to do things that way. But Wonder Woman definitely, and Shazam for sure, definitely had a different, like, totally just went completely the other direction.
Well, that's what I think is great, going back to like director freedom. You can take the same character and have two different directors' interpretations of it. You know, it's like you said with the Snyderverse, it's much more, I think, realistic in a way, and more and darker, obviously. But then Patty can take it and do her own thing with it.
Right.
Yeah, which is I think really cool and really creative to hear for a filmmaker.
Yeah, I that would be a dream, really, actually.
Yeah.
You know, like work with. I would, you know, I noticed that GEOFF JOHNS was a producer though, and he's a big writer for DC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I saw him like in my mind, like on the sidelines, even though it's by no means a sideline role. But I was like, oh, GEOFF JOHNS. Then I noticed he had something to do with Shazam too, and I'm like, all right, so they have their people. DC, you know, the Canon Publishing Archive kind of entity, has their people there. Because sometimes I really feel like they don't, but then you see those guys behind the lines, and you know, and GEOFF JOHNS helped co-write the script, so it was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so, they've had a couple producers like that, just, you know, working behind the scenes in a couple of the newer projects. Like you said, Shazam was a great example of one.
Yeah, Shazam was really fun. Another Christmas movie, if you think about it. Like,
it's true.
Shazam was really fun. There's so many questions I want to ask you that would be spoiler heavy. So,
yeah, it's hard to tiptoe around this one. I mean, even though it's a prequel, there are a lot of events that happen that could be spoilers. So
yeah,
I want to
get into it.
Yeah.
Were you surprised? Like, were there big surprise moments in Wonder Woman 1984?
There were a couple, and I don't want to, especially with a certain character, I don't want to ruin it, but just I mean, the trailers did a great job of not really revealing a lot. That's all I'll say. So
sure. Did you miss movie previews?
Yeah, I did.
Isn't that funny? I only just thought of that right now. Actually, it wasn't one of my slated questions.
That's part of the reason I just lived to go to the theaters, just to see the previews in front of it. I missed it, man. I mean, I can't imagine what we would have gotten with this, but
yeah,
it would have been great. Like
well, everything's askew. So like, who knows what would have been released and what wouldn't, what would be coming out that has gotten kicked back. So
I remember I think I saw Tenet at a drive-in, and just because I guess they had it on a loop already, they were showing a trailer for Fast and Furious 9, and that's not even supposed to come out till next year. So they were just showing the trailer though, and it says coming soon.
Did you see a legit trailer, or was it just a?
Yeah, it was like, because they had a trailer release before the pandemic happened,
right?
And they just had the same trailer, I guess, on every reel that they were showing at drive-ins and stuff, and it was just in front of there, even though it wasn't coming out for like a full year.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's so crazy. Yeah, that's another one of those scenarios that I'd like to be a fly on the wall and just see, hear, oversee the scheduling of like what, you know, I want to know what, you know, they always say like, whoa, you know, the powers that be didn't allow them to make what the fans wanted. And you hear all these kind of goofy statements, but in a way it's true. It's like, I know there's a table somewhere sitting around going, we can't do that. That's not exactly going to work. This isn't kid friendly. This isn't fan friendly. I mean, you know, that conversation happens.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that as well for just the release dates and the trailers and what's coming next and just all that. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they took a gamble both ways they did Tenet in theaters to see what would happen. And they did like a premium VOD price with Milan. And, you know, both results in ways were disappointing, but both results were in a little bit ways, they reached their expectations. So, yeah.
For sure. Chris, we're going to pause for a commercial break. We'll be right back. Chris Marabella, the informant, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
911, what is your emergency?
Hello? I'm not sure if you guys can do anything, but the way the sky's looking out here right now, I mean, this can't be a good thing. I'm almost certain of it.
It is chaos on the streets of America.
We're back on Nerd Topic with Chris, the informant Marabella. We got a few more minutes of the show, but Chris, it's been great talking, man. Do you want to add anything that you could without spoiling it, but something that kind of, you know, really surprised you or just was interesting about the sequel?
I like I said, I like the tone and vibe of it. Maybe the only negative I have, it was a little bit too long.
It was a little long.
I think it runs 2:34, and I feel like you could have trimmed like maybe 15 or 20 minutes out of it.
Yeah,
it's something like that, maybe a little bit less. But it was, I mean, I couldn't really think of anything offhand to actually take out, but I'm sure you could trim it down a little bit. I just feel like a lot of movies feel like they need to be that long when they don't necessarily need to be.
Yeah. I read something in a screenwriting kind of screenwriting manual kind of thing that said, always start a scene further into the scene than you would think the audience needs to see.
Yeah,
and I didn't pick up on any of those necessarily in this.
Yeah,
It's like the kind of, it's the kind of thing where you don't have to say like, hey, how are you? How are you? You just jump in, But there was a few in the beginning. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I'm really not intending it to be. It's not a specific, but I felt like they did what they had to do in the first act, but I do feel like it was a little slow.
It was kind of like what you're saying, where they would play out the whole scene as opposed to starting out a little bit later. That might have, like, a couple seconds here and there, each scene maybe would have trimmed it down a bit.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Are you hopeful for the DCU after seeing this? Like, is their trend still like solid, or was this a dip compared to what they've been putting out previously?
I think it continues the trend. Recently, ever since, obviously the Justice League debacle, I feel like they've really embraced the filmmaker-driven type of studio that WB has been for almost 100 years now, of just basically having carte blanche with the filmmakers.
Right.
Aquaman's like a bonkers fantasy film, Shazam's a comedy, Joker's like a dark character study. So they're definitely dipping in different genres with all these characters now, and Wonder Woman's a 80s throwback film. So, yeah. So I feel like it's continuing that trend. We'll see where they go from here. They got they have a couple films next year and a couple projects next year. We'll see how those turn out.
Yeah, what's slated to drop? The only one I can think of is Black Adam and Batman, but
well, those got pushed to 2022. The only one next year theatrically is the Suicide Squad with James Gunn.
Suicide Squad 2, right? Or are they even labeling it number 2?
It's just called The Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
It's the one James Gunn is doing, though. So I have a feeling it's going to be pretty crazy with James Gunn at the helm.
Yeah, I think he knows how to do a team. I'll say that from his work with Guardians of the Galaxy, and the trailers I've seen. Bonkers might be the right word as well. You used that a little bit earlier. It seems like it's going to, I do wonder, because the Suicide Squad is always, to me, going to be that franchise that falls in like the Deadpool and the could be R-rated and work, or maybe should be R-rated, like heads exploding and violence.
From what I understand, it's like hard R-rated, so which is good.
It is? From
what I understand, that's what Gunn has alluded to and stuff. And I feel like he's a crazy enough guy to actually kill every member, even Harley. Yeah. Like I don't think he's going to keep anyone alive. Like I think he's actually just going to kill everyone, including Harley, on the squad. So
that would be great if it was a Death Race 2000 kind of thing where they just all survive. I don't think the audience would actually suspect that. Like, I know in the first Suicide Squad, I didn't think any of them were going to die, and none of them died except for one throwaway character just to prove a point. So
So we have that, and coming to HBO Max, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is something that a lot of fans have been wanting to see for almost 4 years now, and it's going back to more of that creative freedom Snyderverse of having these characters in a darker lens, but following through those story beats that were followed with the first 2 Snyder films.
Yeah. Do you think Zack Snyder, like, chiming in with the tone you were talking about giving directors creative freedom, it's just like a chicken and the egg argument. Do you think Zack Snyder really pushing to get his full cut of the Justice League being made goes along the lines also with this, like, all right, Patty Jenkins, we're giving you like a lot of control here. All right, James Gunn, we're giving you a lot of control. Do you think it's a DC thing? Do you think it's a new trend in cinema? Tell me.
I think it might be a little bit of both. I think they tried the Justice League experiment, and that was just the one that didn't work for him, it seemed. Right. And so, that on top of just people for years asking for his version of the movie, and him giving more details about it, how it was going to be like a 4 hour long type of project, and all these storylines that were taken out, Dark Side, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And I think it's just an accumulation of that. And basically the fact that he's worked for WB since 2006, and his films have made a lot of money for him. And I think they just realized they made a mistake doing what they did, and just brought him back into the fold. And obviously not for theatrical yet, but I mean, we'll see what his cut does number wise. Sure. Especially for if it's like 4 hours and it's like that vein that some people don't like, of the darker tone. Yeah.
Is it going to be released at once, or 4 hour episodes? Or?
I don't know. I've heard both. I've heard it might be 4 chapters. It might be all at once. And I think they're still figuring it out.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Good stuff for DC on the horizon. I'm excited about all that. Excited about superhero movies in general. I'm excited about just, even the streaming content. Like at first, if you'd have told me there was going to be superhero TV shows, I would have thought they would be along the lines of like the CW stuff and all that. But
Yeah.
Which are fun and great in their own right, but you know, we're getting big budget streaming content now, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, Justice League is going to be another like huge thing going to a streaming service, and I'm curious how it's going to turn out because I feel like that's an even bigger scale and just magnitude than Wonder Woman even is.
Yeah, I agree. Justice League was, I mean, if you think about it, compared to Wonder Woman, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, like, you know, and Gal Gadot. So, I mean, like, you know, the scale of it is definitely bigger. Was that supposed to be released? Was Zack Snyder's new cut supposed to be released in movies?
It was. Well, they always had a problem because the studio wanted to wither it down to like a 2-hour runtime, 2.5 hours, and you know Snyder's notorious for having like very long cuts of his movies that they have to cut down for theatrical. And you know he was looking at options of like maybe I could cut this into 2 parts, or you know maybe there's a way I can make my cut into 2 hours, and all that was happening. And then he had to just leave the project with his tragedy that happened. So it was just all the stuff that didn't come to fruition. So they decided to just revamp and retool the whole film, and we got what we got. Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing what happened. I was interested to see that Zack Snyder's wife was one of the producers in this too. So there's
him and his wife produce a lot of these DC films. They have that production company Stone Quarry, which basically they've helped Patty and they helped James Wan with Aquaman. Basically any of the Justice League characters are they're producers on. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Chris, it's been great talking to you.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure doing this.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate all of your inside info and your viewpoints and your takes on the film world and the behind the scenes. And you definitely do the legwork, so I appreciate having you on the show.
No problem. Yeah, that's why I'm here.